This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
If you see me coming, I'm about to get it started. Get it started. I'ma show you something that you never knew you wanted. Yeah, you want it. Claws out, unleashed, I'm a beast. Got the whole crowd. Party, make a scene, gonna get loud. Real proud, show my teeth. Go wild like an animal. Like an animal! Like an animal! Go wild like an animal! Wild it out like an animal.
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, hello. It is Wednesday. Oh, yes, it is Wednesday. And how wacky can it get? You know, I always love when we make it to Wednesdays because it is Whip 'em Out Wednesdays. And who cannot like that? I mean, come on. Let's get serious about this. Anyways, today's Wednesday, March the 29th of 2023. Day numero 88 of the year. That's 88, just in case you did not know. And only 277 days left to go. Yes, that's an important piece. And when we start talking about it, because listen, the countdown is always ongoing. We just never know when it's all going to come to el conclusiono. Because we need to start talking about that. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM. And then we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place.
Radio Big. Streaming 24/7 at RadioBig.fm.
Oh, yes, RadioBig.fm. You can also hang out on the iHeartRadio app if you're so inclined to do so. Because there are some thingos inside of there to come out, hang out, and do all that kind of fantastic stuff. So no worries there. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of news, a lot of things that have circulated that, you know, sometimes you cannot be happy about, but it's just kind of the way that it goes as we are talking. Because listen, news happens 24/7. Things are constantly changing, and we just need to talk about it. So don't worry about all that stuff because, listen, that's why we're here. We talk about safety in the news and safety, because there is a nice little combination of all things that need to be covered during that time frame. So let's start talking a little bit. If you want to interact with the show, it's an easy process on doing so. All you have to do is go to callinradio.com. That's the calling in of the radio.com. Also, on the other side of the equation, if you want to take a look at the visual aspect of what we do, not a problem. You can do it on some of the social media processors and all that kind of fun stuff. But let me explain to you. If you chat inside of there, I don't see anything. So just a little FYI news. But if you want to do it and hang out with us, you can go to safetyfm.com or radiobig.fm and click on the section that says Visual Radio. Yes, Visual Radio. And that will get everything moving for you. Kind of a simple process as we are talking. So that way you can take a look, I can take a look, and we start blabbing happen on all that kind of fun stuff. Now, listen, we do have some professional broadcasters that come in here and they do all the chatting on what's going on. So I will bring them in for them to let you know what is going on. But before we get into all that mess, let's talk a little bit about what the hell is trending from the overnight.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so in the trend of the ends of the ends, more trouble for Sam Bankman-Fried for getting cozy with the commies, an official shrimp designation. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Where's President Joe Biden unity agenda when he needs it? Maybe it's in the swamp. We'll talk a little bit about that today as we get swampy. The Washington Commanders may soon have a new owner, and Robert Downey Jr. ABC gum is on sale on eBay. Yes, and that stands for already been chewed, just in case. Also, Suge Knight is working on a TV series from behind bars, and Mike Fless is saying goodbye to the Bachelor franchise. And we'll talk a little bit more about everything else that is going on, because that's what we do around here. We cover the information that no one cares about. I mean, the information that everybody wants to know about. Anyways, with that being said, let's bring in the pros, and let's get you started right now.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. An Alabama police officer is dead and another remains hospitalized in critical condition after they were shot on Tuesday. It happened at an apartment complex in Huntsville where deputies were responding to a shots fired call. A citizen was also shot. Authorities say an offender initially barricaded himself inside an apartment, but has since been apprehended. The White House is asking where the Republican budget proposal is.
The president released his budget 3 weeks ago, and so far all we've seen from Speaker McCarthy and MAGA Republicans in Congress are proposals that would blow up the deficit.
The Biden administration is asking this as Speaker Kevin McCarthy demands President Biden come to the negotiating table over raising the debt ceiling. White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary Olivia Dalton said Congress has a constitutional obligation to pass a clean debt ceiling bill like they did 3 times in the Trump administration. Her comments came after McCarthy sent a letter to the president this week accusing him of putting an already fragile economy in jeopardy by refusing to negotiate. While Republicans are pushing the White House to agree to spending cuts as a condition for raising the debt limit, Biden has called on the GOP to accept an increase without conditions. Dominion Voting Systems wants to put Fox News hosts and executives on the witness stand in its $1.6 billion defamation case. Brian Shook reports.
That includes President Jay Wallace and on-air hosts Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, and Laura Ingraham, among others. The company is suing Fox over claims it made that it rigged the 2020 presidential election. Dominion has said in court filings that it would have been impossible for its systems to flip votes from Trump to Biden, as many on Fox suggested. I'm Brian Shook.
And a citywide candlelight vigil is set for Wednesday night in Nashville after this week's school shooting that left 3 young children and 3 adults dead. It's meant to honor the lives of the victims of the Covenant School. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Taiwan's president is beginning a 10-day tour of Central America. Police say the shooter who killed 6 people at a school in Nashville hid a series of legally bought guns at her parents' house. The UK government is setting out plans to house migrants at venues including barges, and in a crackdown on substandard drugs, India is cancelling the manufacturing licenses of 18 firms in the country.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
President Biden's approval numbers are still stuck underwater. Rory O'Neill reports.
President Biden's approval number has been stuck around 40% for the past 6 months, according to Gallup. Specifically, he's got 43% approval on the environment, 38% approve of his energy and foreign affairs policies, while 32% approve of his handling of the economy. 87% of Democrats approve of Joe Biden's performance. Just 3% of Republicans feel the same. I'm Rory O'Neill.
It looks like former Vice President Mike Pence will have to testify before a grand jury on conversations he had with former President Trump leading up to the January the 6th Capitol riot. That's what a federal judge reportedly ruled on Tuesday. The judge, however, said Pence can still decline answering questions related to his own actions on January the 6th. while serving as president of the Senate for certification of the 2020 presidential election. Special counsel Jack Smith subpoenaed Pence as part of the investigation into efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the results of the election. Philadelphia's water system won't be impacted by a recent chemical spill in the Delaware River.
No residents were exposed to unsafe chemicals in the city's tap water. City officials exercised caution when more information was needed, and we couldn't rule out the risk of contamination. Now we can all confidently say the threat has passed.
Mayor Jim Kenney made that announcement on Tuesday. He said sampling hasn't detected any substance from last week's spill, which is believed to have happened after a pipe burst at a plant in Bristol. It's estimated that thousands of gallons of latex finishing chemicals were dumped into the river. City officials say they will continue to monitor the situation out of an abundance of caution. And the National Weather Service says conditions appear to be shaping up for more severe weather in parts of the country this weekend. The agency says the Midwest, the Corn Belt, and the South could see thunderstorms and possible tornadoes as early as Friday. Mississippi is still recovering from tornadoes this past weekend that claimed more than 20 lives. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Always replicated, but never duplicated. Rated R Safety Show.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running?
That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
As your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed, safety trainers still preaching a warped version. How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Have you ever wanted to start live streaming and were not sure how to do it? You can start live streaming up to 40 social media platforms all at one time for as little as nada. It's going to cost you your time. That is what it's going to cost. You can pre-record, you can live stream, you can do a multitude of things. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com, ONE. Radio. USA, Canada, UK. Okay, there you go. 15 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this Whip 'em Out Wednesday. So there you go. Let's get it moving and grooving as we are talking and doing all the fantastic stuff that we get to do on a Wednesday. You know, I have to tell you, if you are a professional wrestling fan, this is a big week for you. Normally, it's kind of the way that it works out because this is the week of WrestleMania, where people kind of lose their stuff in regards of everything that's going on with all of the different events that happen. And specifically, if you are where the location is at of where they're having WrestleMania this year, which is Los Angeles, California. So a lot of stuff going on this week. So a lot of stuff coming on. And of course, we have to show support for, our wrestling aficionados that are out there. Because always, it's always an interesting time watching the male-dominated soap opera aspect of the whole thing. I have to tell you, since I was a kid, probably watched some of that stuff, and it's not a bad thing. I always love some of the theater aspects of the whole thing. Don't know why I brought that up, but thought it might be important for some people as we are talking. Anyway, so let's start talking about what's going on inside of the shit list as bribing the Chinese Communist Party to the list to the crimes of Sam Bankman-Fried now faces. A new indictment filed on Tuesday accuses SBF of spending $40 million in cryptocurrency and sending $40 million in cryptocurrency to the Chinese officials in an attempt to unfreeze a crypto account that they had previously shut down. The account in question had more than $1 billion in crypto assets. And it gets worse. The alleged $40 million bribe was wired from the Alameda Research, implying that the customer's deposits were used in part to finance the payoff. Oh. It just doesn't get any better in regards to what the hell's going on. I look at it and go, what is happening inside of the worldo as that this would come up? Anyways, Russia is staring down the economic peril just over a year after the invasion of the Ukraine, as the Wall Street Journal reports. After an international coalition shut off Russia's economy from the global marketplace, the ruble for a while held steady, but since November, it's down 20% against the dollar, and now the labor forces have shrunken, and an increasing number of recruits have been drafted into the front of the line. Yes, so you don't want to be in the front lines, bro, but that's what's going on. But wait, the Journal reports that the threat that Russia's budget deficit has $34 billion in February, or about 1.5% of the total gross domestic product. Worth noting, the United States deficit to GDP ratio is nearly 6%. So if that's an indicator of economic trouble, hold on tight, because I'm sure it's going to get worse. What do you think about this whole thing? Because listen, I will tell you, there were some people that I was talking to that they were like, maybe you should invest in the ruble at one particular point. And I don't know. I mean, was that the right thing, the wrong thing, the in-between thing? I don't know. But some people were like, hey, this is the deal of what probably should be done. I don't know. I look at it and I go, something to think about.
You are listening to a renowned safety expert, Dr. Jay Allen, on Safety FM. Changing safety cultures, one broadcast and one podcast at a time. Join the fun on social media and find us on Facebook at Safety FM.
Yep, there you go. You can find us all over the place as we are doing our thing. Anyways, the state of Utah has adopted an official arthropod. So there you go, which is apparently a thing in some parts. Earlier this month, the governor signed a bill making brine shrimp the state's official, the state official cuisine. I mean, go with it that way. The tiny animal has been found abundantly in Utah's Great Salt Lake, but play a crucial role in the state economy when it comes to harvesting their eggs, according to Associated Reports. Worth noting, Utah has a knack for designation of obscure official symbols, including an official dinosaur. Yeah, that's not a joke. You can look that up. And the state cooking pot. Yeah, a Dutch oven, which, you know, if you're a teenager, a Dutch oven means something entirely something different as we are talking. So just some thingos to talk about as we are going through that whole aspect there. And all this news is according to CNN, just a little FYI action as I am bringing that through there. Anyways, Apple is throwing in its hat to the ring of burgeoning a buy now, pay later scheme. Yeah, integrated the finance options for small purchases into an existing Apple Pay feature. The new feature will allow select buyers to finance the cost of items between $50 to $1,000, breaking down into payments into 4 installments over 6 weeks. Yes, I didn't say 6 months. I said 6 weeks. The official marketing language says that applying for a mini loan has no impact on the user's credit, but The Verge points out that the fine print reveals that the loan payment history may be reported to credit bureaus and impact their credit. Worth noting, maybe you can't afford to spend $1,000. You don't need the $1,000 item or like to buy it used or something. I mean, I'm just saying, Apple says that it's rolling out the feature randomly over the next coming weeks. This is via The Verge. This is coming via The Verge. Now, I want you to think about this. $1,000 in 6 weeks. And I look at it and go, okay, pay, enjoy now, pay later, all that kind of fun stuff. That's stuff that kids do. I always look at it as that if you can't afford the thing straight out or outright and it's not a home, is it really worth doing? I mean, there's some things to think about. There are some things to leverage there. There is no doubt about it. Because listen, when you start thinking about this, $1,000 over 6 weeks, and how new does the product have to be? Listen, I will tell you, if you go into the Apple website, there is a certified refurbished item section. I will tell you, you can find some great deals there. You just have to look. And sometimes you have to look frequently, but definitely worth it.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so there you go. 3 years after the COVID lockdown and unending pandemic outrage, researchers say that they've created a molecule that can effectively preventing infection from all variants of COVID-19. The research from the study of University of Helsinki says that the molecule isolates and disables the so-called spike protein that the culprit behind COVID-19's infection rates. The molecule is just administered through the nasal spray. They say that it's even effective for a few hours after exposure. And this is according to SciTech Daily. SciTech Daily. Worth noting, of course, researchers are hopeful that the science behind this nasal spray can help nip a future disease outbreak in the bud if the world government lets it. So I guess it's some things to think about as we are talking. What do you think about as we say that? Because there is always so many different things and so many different aspects to find behind it. I mean, there is no doubt about it. Anyways, take a listen to this real quick. Let's talk about some of the charty-arties because this is important. Let's talk about the top 5 fiction and nonfiction category books that are on the New York Times bestsellers list. So taking it from the number 5 spot from the fiction category, Daisy Jones and the Six. That's at number 5. At number 4, It Ends With Us. At number 3, It Starts With Us. At number 2, Hello, Beautiful. And at number 1, I Will Find You. So there you go. If you go into the nonfiction category, it sounds something like this. The Body Keeps the Score. At number 5. At number 4, The Courage to Be Free. At number 3, Paris. At number 2, Spare. And at number 1, Save. Now, I want you to think about that. 3, 2, and 1 in the nonfiction category are a one-word title. Paris by Paris Hilton. Number 2, Spare by Prince Harry. And number 1, Save by Benjamin Hall. So there you go. Makes it kind of interesting as we are talking over there. There is no doubt about it. Anyways, with that being said, let's bring in some John Smalls real quick and let him tell you about what the hell is going on inside of the world of the market, because those things are always important.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Wednesday, March 29th, brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. Equities tread water for a second day as traders brace for what could be a monumental PCE report. The report is expected to show moderating, albeit hot, inflation and give the FOMC a chance to pause and take pressure off the economy. The risk is that the consumer-level inflation will be hotter than expected or accelerate in the coming months. For the FOMC, whose task is to tamp down inflation, being certain may be more important than giving the market what it wants. A rise in the 10-year Treasury suggests that some in the market expect a hot PCE figure, which may be wise. If not for the SVB crisis, the market would still expect such news and a 50 basis point hike from the FOMC. The only thing that has changed is a bank failure that has little to do with inflation. The real takeaway is that businesses are tightening across sectors and industries, which will be felt and seen in the second half results. You can get the inside track at marketbeatminute.com.
Okay, thank you, Johnny Smalls, for the information, because it's always important what you have to share. So let's talk a little bit of the breakdown of what I was able to find on this Whip 'em Out Wednesday. This is what I found on my side. The Dow lost about 37 points to close at 32,394. The S&P lost about 6 points to close at 3,971. And the NASDAQ lost about 52 points to close at 11,716. West Texas Intermediate closed at $73 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $78 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.43 on Tuesday. Bitcoin was up about 0.3%, trading just around $27,300, and there was 7,700 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Tuesday, with about 265 such cancellations. Anyways, tonight's Powerball drawing will be for a $132 million jackpot, or a $71.4 million cash payout. So there you go. If you want to play the game, you're more than welcome to do so. So there you go. Anyways, take a listen to this. The NBA legend Magic Johnson and 76ers owners Josh Harris and billionaire Mitchell Riles have jointly submitted a $6 billion offer to purchase the Washington Commanders football team. So there you go. If the current team owners, Dan Snyder, accepts the offer, the deal would break the previous record by the NFL franchise, which was set last year when Rob Walton bought the Denver Broncos for $4.65 billion. Also, this means that Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z would have been interested in snagging the team or out of luck. So there you go. Don't know if those things are important to you, but definitely something worth talking about, because that's what we do here. We talk about things, because that's the gig. Anyways, take a listen to this real quick. One person is dead and 9 others are hospitalized after police pursuit ended in a 9-car crash in Long Beach. The Long Beach Police Department says a woman was driving the car at first, but switched seats with a man after getting pulled over.
After contacting the female driver of the vehicle, the officer returned to his vehicle, noticed that the female driver had switched seats with her male passenger. The male passenger was now driving the vehicle. The vehicle took off at a high rate of speed.
So with that being said, the high-speed chase started in Seal Beach and ended in a crash in Long Beach about 8:15 Tuesday night. The driver ran away after the collision, but was stunned with a taser by police and arrested. The woman riding in the passenger seat was among the people taken to the hospital. There is also an infant in the car who also was taken to the hospital for evaluation as well. Authorities say that the pursuit suspect was driving on the wrong side of the road.
The driver was driving the wrong way on PCH, driving northbound in the southbound lanes, and then moved back over into the northbound lanes.
So a lot of stuff going on right there as we are talking there. So take a listen to this. This week marks the 44th anniversary of the 3 Mile Island nuclear accident. Mark Mayfield has more information.
Federal nuclear experts say it was the most serious accident ever at a U.S. commercial nuclear power plant. A combination of equipment failure and operator error led to a partial meltdown of one of the plant's reactors, which resulted in the release of a small amount of radioactive material. Officials say the exposure had no detectable health effects on approximately 2 million people in the nearby area. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, thank you, Mark Mayfield, for that information right there, because it's always important to find out exactly what's going on. Take a listen to this real quick. An investigation is underway after at least 40 people died in a fire at a migrant detention center in Mexico on Monday. More from Mark Mayfield.
The blaze happened at the National Migration Institute in Ciudad Juarez, which sits across the border from El Paso, Texas. More than 60 men were detained at the center. One witness, whose husband was hospitalized, said the detainees were locked inside while employees evacuated. At least 28 of the deceased were Guatemalan nationals. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, thank you, Mark Mayfield, for that. Take a listen to this. Paul Vallas and Brandon Johnson are trading attacks a week before the Chicago mayoral election. The pair had a heated got heated last night during a little exchange action, is what it sounds like, and that was televised debate on CBS Chicago when Johnson accused Valles of being dismissive of the Cook County Commissioner CPS teaching experience.
The fact that he's being dismissive of a black man who taught for 4 years in Chicago Public Schools is you got to stop doing that, Paul. You just do.
Valles denied the characterization, saying that he's criticizing Johnson's leadership ability. The former CPS CEO noted that his opponent will be able to retire with a teacher's pension despite the fact that he only taught for 4 years. Johnson fired back that he is going to retire Valles in several days. So there you go. And I guess this is where we start talking about theater and politics. And I almost say that if you've ever heard a promo, yes, a promo, as they like to use the wording in professional wrestling, it sounds very similar sometimes on how some of these politicians do this stuff. Just my opinion, of course, but who cares? Who cares what my opinion is?
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, nearly 36 people are facing charges following a 16-month investigation into illegal drug sales and gang violence in Baltimore City. Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison says that 33 gang members have been indicted.
12 are repeat violent offenders. 30 of them have previous arrest records to include drug distribution, armed robbery, handgun violations, carjackings, human trafficking, and attempted murder.
There you go. That's a highlight there for you. During the takedown operation, Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown joined the city leaders in announcing authorities seized nearly a dozen guns, around $30,000 in cash, and large quantities of fentanyl and cocaine. Hopefully they're not interlaced. The indictment includes charges of participation in criminal organization, drug distribution, attempted murder, human trafficking, and firearm-related counts. 14 of the suspects have yet to be arrested. Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown says the number of tools that were used in the 16 months:
undercover detective buys, video surveillance, and wiretaps.
Oh, it sounds like some things were definitely going on for some time there as we are talking. Take a listen to this one before we get into the main story. Democrats in the state legislature will try to pass a gun bill created to red flag laws in April when they return from their current 2-week spring break. Senator Mallory McCalla of Royal Oak says the bill expanded background checks and mandate of safe storage are awaiting Governor Whitmer signature, but they have not yet been able to pass the red flag or extreme risk protection bills yet. Take a listen.
We've seen that red flag laws are only as successful as there is buy-off from law enforcement agencies and awareness about how to use them. So we're just going through to make sure every detail is right before we pass the final version.
Yeah, she said that those laws would have stopped the school shooter this week in Tennessee. So just something to think about as we are talking. So there you go. Anyways, it is currently 32 minutes past the top of the hour. So let's do that thing that we do because we need to. We need to because it is that time. So let's do that right now.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Main stories and times to sit back and talk and chat and do the things that have to happen are sometimes some of the most important and crucial things that we can talk about. They are sometimes some of the most important things that can happen. And I think, not therefore I am, because that would almost not make sense in this sequence, but we need to think about this and reference how important it is inside of the organizations that you work at and that I work at, that whole thing that's known as communication. Now, think about this. Regardless of what is going on inside of your workplace, things are being communicated in one way, shape, or form. Now, you're going to sit here for a moment with me and probably go through this little bit of torture. But if I see the leader of our group, of our department, of whatever the hell you want to look at, and they see my body language of what is going on, that is a form of communication. If I am not interacting with the person, even though it is a lack of communication, that is still a form of communication. And we tend to forget how important these little intricacies are through our organizations. Regardless of what is going on, you are constantly communicating with the people around you, the people that are not so close around you, and all that kind of fun stuff. Now, think about this for a moment. Have you ever worked for someone that you considered to be a dominant personality? And if so, how did you interact with that person? How did you take a look and do some of the things that were occurring? Like, did you take a pause for the cause? Would you not say anything sometimes when this person was in the room? Would you not interrupt them as they were communicating stuff? Would you cross your arms as they were talking? Would you make gestures with your hands? Would you make facial expressions as they were talking to a group? Because all of those things are level of communication that you're doing with that person. Now, listen, you could be the strong character inside of this conversation. Now, you can also look at it from the safety cop standpoint. If you've ever had that opportunity of interacting with someone who is deemed as a quote-unquote safety cop, some of those people don't go over too well, and you can see how others interact. So I'm not sitting here today and talking about body language per se, but I am talking about forms of communication that happen all of the time inside of an organization. Because sometimes our strongest communication can be the word that we never said. Think about that for a moment. The word that was never said can have the largest impact inside of an organization. The largest. And sometimes people kind of look at me and go, why do you say that? Because sometimes our interactions with others can be only body language, or it can be a form of communication that is nonverbal. And I'm not talking about somebody shooting me over a text or an email. So let me make sure that I'm clear here. But think about these things today as you are going for it, and as you are talking, and as you are communicating with others. How is that communication going? How is that communication being perceived by others? How is the communication going with when people interact with you? You know, it's kind of that flip and flop type of thing. People like to take a look at what is going on, and people like to see what kind of leader you might end up being, even when nobody else is paying attention. Maybe that's a form of communication to think about today.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobile.io. That's mobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
With streams so crisp that you can feel the sarcasm in your ear holes. Radio Big.
I'm a machine working every day the hardest. Superhuman vision, got my eyes on the target. Claws out, unleashed, I'm a beast, got the whole crowd. Party, make a scene, gonna get loud. Real proud, show my teeth. Go wild, like an animal.
Oh, Rated R Safety Show. Hour #1 of the Jay Allen in the Morning Show.
Go wild, like an animal.
Yep. So there you go. This is the Jay Allen in the Morning Show, Rated R Safety Show, hour #1. This right here that you're taking a listen to, this is Elena Cross with a little song called Like an Animal. Thanks to Elena for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show on Radio Big and Safety FM. So there you go. Give it a little stream from YouTube Music, Spotify, or Apple Music. So there you go.
Like an animal.
So let's get into the moves and the grooves of the things that we have going on as we are doing our thing on this lovely Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Yes, you know, favorite part of the week. Some people call it Hump Day. I call it Whip 'em Out Wednesday. It just seems like a better alternative in regards of what is going on. So let's start talking right away about some of the things that are happening. And this was going to be the most important happening that I will tell you about. and that's about my friends at 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They can help you prevent suicide. The Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress prevention and crisis resources for you and your loved ones, and best practices for professionals in the United States. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to 988lifeline.org. That's 988lifeline.org, or you can text the word TALK to 988 or call 988. Listen, they have all kinds of stuff that is going on. Anyone could be struggling with suicide, and you can find specific resources depending on what you're looking for. All you need to do is go to the website. There is more detailed information inside of there. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can chat with the Lifeline by just texting 988, the word TALK, or you can just give them a call. Listen, it's not easy out there. I get it. Sometimes we all need a little help. And there is a resource for you. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That's 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. So let's get into some other things that are going inside of our little worldo here, because why would we not be talking about it? So here we go. Lordy, look who's 40. Not a joke, but middle-aged millennials have arrived, and they are, they're changing travel as we know it. Millennials are generally defined by those born between 1981 and 1996. And as more and more of them turn 40, the research companies Morning Consult say that they're bringing in their tech savviness, social consciousness, and spending habits in tow. Experts say that traveling is more often than other than age groups. For example, 18% of millennials have taken 3 or more domestic flights in the past year, compared to 10% of Gen Xers. And let's see, and 6% of baby boomers, and they're also traveling differently from generations before them. Although money worries have caused millennials to delay home and car purchases, they see travel as right, not a privilege. And although they're willing to spend, they aren't willing to splurge. That means that they may not be looking for top-of-the-line options when traveling, but they're not looking for the spring break type of getaways anymore either. Millennials are more likely to seek trips that focus on mental health and relaxation, and tend to want to stay in hotels with spas and wellness services and travel sustainably. Hey, I like to stay there too, but hey, that's a whole other thing. My idea of traveling sustainably these days is having enough money to fill the tank on the way to work. So I guess that's something to think about. But let's be realistic here. I don't understand the whole spa thing. I want to have a better understanding of this. Imagine traveling to a foreign country and you want to have something different to do. Different. And you book a spa outing. Now, that seems like a lot of far traveling to book a spa event, opposed to booking something else. I mean, I don't know. You do you, I'll do me, and all that kind of fun stuff. But it makes it very weird and very interesting in regards of going, I'm going to go to a foreign country, and I'm going to book a lovely spa.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
So there you go. Some things right there. I don't know. I know. I get kind of on these weird tangents from time to time on some oddities, but I just go, I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, take a listen to this. The president is reacting to a tragic mass shooting at a Christian private school in Nashville. Trey Thomas has more information. Take a listen to this.
President Biden says there's a moral price to pay for inaction on guns.
Nothing like losing a child, particularly the more senseless it is, the more devastating the impact on you. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
While speaking in Durham, North Carolina, the president called Tuesday's deadly shooting senseless. He urged Congress to pass an assault weapons ban and questioned why we allow weapons of war in our streets. He said he supports the Second Amendment, but noted it's not absolute. I'm Trey Thomas.
So I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of conversations out of that one, because that's normally how that occurs. What is your thought about yesterday? What is your thought about everything that was going on yesterday? Because, listen, there are people sitting around the water cooler that are having these conversations going, well, here's my thought about what went down. What do you think? 3 children, 3 adults. What was the impact? Because you know that there's going to be all kinds of different conversations. There's going to be the gun conversation. There's going to be the transgender conversation. There's going to be the mental health conversation. Which one do you think is applicable across the board? Because those are the three things that I keep on hearing. So which is going to be the applicable one? And listen, this is not the show to tell you or to dictate to anyone on what needs to be done. But conversations need to be had in regards to what are next steps. A lot of stuff there. A lot of stuff there to think about. And that is for sure. And I know some people are not going to love it.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
So let's talk about some of the oddities that are going on. A planetary spectacle is unfolding in the night skies this week. Bree Tennis has more.
NASA says 5 planets are lining up: Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus, and Mars. All you have to do to see them is look up from anywhere in the world. Look to the moon. The planets will stretch from the horizon line to about halfway up the night sky. Mars will be by the moon and has a red glow. You'll need binoculars or a telescope to check out Mercury and Uranus because they're tiny. And if you miss the opportunity, the planets will have a do-over June 17th. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
I thought it was Uranus. Is it Uranus? I mean, because that just sounds like I'm looking at something entirely different. What do you think here? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking the question. Anyways, Ednan Syed, murder conviction is reinstated 6 months after he was freed. Syed, whose case was made famous by a podcast Serial, was released in October from prison after his attorney said the DNA evidence supported his innocence.
Our family, we've suffered so much. Just over the past 20, almost 24 years.
Okay.
And it's really hard.
That was Syed after his release. Maryland Appeals Court will now hold a new hearing for the victim, Hae Min Lee family, to attend after the family argued they weren't properly notified of the efforts to release Syed. But the decision is procedural issues and does not necessarily mean that Syed will be sent back to prison. So there you go. Some stuff going on right there as we are talking. Take a listen to this. A Grand Rapids man who started posting videos on TikTok for fun in his spare time 2 years ago and then blew up online says that he is now overly concerned about the possible ban of the app in the U.S. Franklin LaPena says that TikTok is superior when it comes to compared to Instagram and YouTube for analytics, views, likes, shares, and more. He had over 6.5 million followers on it.
They started just going viral. It was never a plan. It was never an intent. It just started happening. People really responded well. And I guess I'm known as the Grand Rapids social media creator guy.
He adds the terms of service for TikTok are very concerning, but so far the terms of service for Instagram and Facebook say that everyone is collecting people's data. LaPena says that he still creates and posts on TikTok, is banned by Congress as he has 3 million followers on YouTube and over 1 million followers on Instagram. Grand Rapids TikTok influencer Frankie LaPena says that the app is better than others.
TikTok was definitely superior than Instagram and YouTube in terms of analytics, views, likes, shares, comments, everything.
Okay, so there you go. Superior. I mean, I don't know. It all seems internet bound to me anyways, so there you go. Anyways, let's get some motivation on this Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Let's bring some John Smalls inside of here and let him tell you about what's going on with the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Chris. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." What a famous quote. This comes from the aftermath of Pearl Harbor. President Roosevelt addressed the nation to remind them that they have nothing to fear but fear itself. Have you ever been there? I have. Afraid, when I know I really don't need to be afraid. But fear had taken over and almost paralyzed me into giving up on something that mattered so much to me before. Now I let fear shut me down to the point where I almost gave up. As a matter of fact, giving up would have been easier. Instead, I took on the uphill climb to get back to where I needed to be, to overcome fear and finally look success in the eye. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlysaMorgan.com. Typically, when we sit down to eat a meal, we tend to eat until we're totally stuffed. And although this brings a short-term feeling of satisfaction, it is not the best thing for our health. However, eating to only 80% fullness helps hunger hormone ghrelin to stay activated between the meals because without the feeling of fullness, it rises faster and remains elevated longer to activate fat-burning mechanisms. Additionally, when ghrelin stays elevated for a longer time, it increases the density of neural synapses, meaning that the cells are able to send faster signals to one another. These are just some of the immediate benefits of finishing the meals at 80% fullness, and it is one of the easiest ways to enjoy food and also help the body to stay in fat-burning mode throughout the day. For more information on wellness, check out alessamorgan.com.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. 55 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely, lovely, lovely Wednesday. There is no doubt about that as we are doing our thingo. Anyways, take a listen to this about something that happened back on this date. Democrat activist Lucy Flores accuses Joe Biden of sexual harassment, including unwanted kissing and touching. She said that Biden made advances while the two campaigned in Nevada back in 2014. Flores called the interaction awkward and disturbing. Biden, who was vice president at the time of the incident, said that it was never his intention to make Flores feel uncomfortable. That was back in 2019. Let's talk about some birthdays that are going on today. Leah Williamson turns 26. Jennifer Caprati turns 47. Lucy Lawless, 55. Elle McPherson, 59. Maggie Baird turns 64. Brendan Gleeson turns 68. Walt Frazier turns 78. And Danny McLean turns 79. If you're looking to celebrate, well, I have some of those for you. It's International Mermaid Day, National Smoke and Mirrors Day, World Piano Day, Manatee Appreciation Day, National Lemon Chiffon Cake Day, Niagara Falls Runs Dry Day. Hold on, does that really happen? And Payday at Ford. Payday at Ford. I would like to understand what that one means, but it sounds pretty interesting. There is no doubt about that, as I do say that out loud. With it being Whip 'em Out Wednesday, you know, it's kind of hard not to talk about some whackbacks. According to astronauts, space smells like a seared steak, hot metal, and welding fumes. Your fingernails grow faster than when you're cold, so there you go. A housefly taste buds located in its feet are 10 million times more sensitive than yours. There is actually a difference between a coffin and a casket. Coffins are temporarily tapered and six-sided, while caskets are rectangular. The inventor of Vaseline, Robert Chesbrough, ate a spoonful of the stuff every single day. Good for him. Cookie Monster originally had pointy teeth, but things changed, so there you go. Anyways, if you're looking at, let's see, if you're looking at a random joke for today, I got one of those for you. My retirement plan is a slippery floor at Walmart. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What is the wildest or weirdest thing you've witnessed your neighbors do? Hey now. If you need a conversation for the water cooler, try this question. This is actually thought of as something that kids do, but 18% of us done it as adults. What is it? Climb a tree. There you go. Climb a tree. That's the answer to the question as we are talking. Anyways, that's going to sum up our time together. I really do appreciate you hanging out and doing the things you do on this wacky Wednesday. There is no doubt about that. If you want to hang out with me at the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm exclusively for the next couple hours or so, finishing hour 2 and hour number 3 of the Jay Allen in the Morning Show. As we do our music stuff and talk about the world of entertainment, you're more than welcome on coming over there and hanging out. If not, you can stay right here and take a listen to the Sheldon Primus Show, where he talks about the business of safety consultant, staying right here on Safety FM. So there you go. That's what's going to sum everything up for you as we are talking. Anyways, if I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. If you can stay positive in a negative situation, you win. Think about it. Thank you for being the best part of Safety FM and Radio Big, and that is the listener. That is for sure. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye. No, seriously. Love you, mean it, and goodbye. Take care. We'll speak very soon.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.